Aslan is a warrior.
Yep.
A warrior cat.
A warrior full of rage. Oh.
He is
What
a
clan is
warrior cat.
Aslan in? You're listening to Nostalgia Club, the podcast where we look back on our favorite childhood stories and revisit them as adults. At least one of us hasn't read or watched these series, so we also get a first-timer's opinion. Spoiler alert, we will be discussing storylines and future events beyond the first books and episodes, so proceed with caution.
Welcome back to Nostalgia Club. I'm Victoria, and I'm joined by...
Michael.
And Jino.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry. It's like a thing they did on a Critical Role a lot.
I'm aware.
And it just came out of me.
Muscle memory, like, synaptic. Yeah, no, it has,
As you
though.
can tell, we are a little
loopy.
A little loopy
We are
today.
14 minutes into the recording, and we've just now gotten started.
But it's fun. Today is our recap episode.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the season 1 recap episode, we went off the rails in that one. So I'm anticipating we might do that today, although it has been a while since we've revisited some of these episodes. Generally, the premise of these recap episodes is we go back to all of the episodes that we talked about, all of the books and shows and whatnot that we covered in the season, and we either talk about the general nostalgia related to it, like go into more detail that we didn't in the episode itself, or if there is a plot point that we wanted to talk about more, we can
Or
do
an
that.
update in
Or an
that
update.
property's lore or
Yeah.
canon or release.
Oh yeah, also, you might notice we took out the Wayland Productions part of our show description, as we are no longer
Oh, yes.
part of Wayland Productions.
We've been bought out by ourselves.
We're free!
But
We're
all that
adrift.
really means is we're just not getting paid to make Nostalgia Club anymore. We're just doing this purely for fun. Not that we weren't doing it for fun before, but
I was only in it for the money.
Michael's like, sorry.
And this will
is-
be Michael Keane's final episode of Nostalgia Club. Everyone give him a hand.
In all seriousness, no, I don't plan on going anywhere. I really
thank
like
you.
reading these books.
Good.
Yay! Also, forgive us if we are a little out of practice, because again, it's been 3 months since we recorded
Yeah.
another Nostalgia Club episode. Which also, I was thinking back, and when we started recording season 2, it was around this time, and then we immediately had to stop recording Nostalgia Club for like 6 months because
Yeah.
we got busy editing. And once again, the reason why it took us so long to do a recap episode is because we were busy editing.
Literally the last couple days, the both of you have just come off of doing some intense Kickstarter stuff for Wayland
We're
Productions.
still on that ground.
That's true. And then for all three of us in the last handful of months, December, January or whatever, it was we were working on a movie,
A movie?
a big picture movie.
Wow. Our
Wow.
names. You will not see Victoria, Cheng, Jino, Jang, and Michael Keane. You will just say sound designed by Nostalgia Club. No, I'm kidding. That'd be really funny. People
Worked
will be
on
like,
a
who
movie?
is that?
So needless to say, we're all different people than you heard last time.
If we sound even more tired than the end of season 2, it's because we are. Anyways, no.
I'm grizzled as a marbled steak.
Oh, gosh.
I've never heard that one before.
I made it up.
I
Probably
like it.
does-
That was great.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I have been re-listening to some of the old Nostalgia Club episodes in preparation for today's episode. I'm assuming you guys have not.
As always, Victoria's done.
That would have been a really good idea, you know?
You know what I'll admit I did do? I did re-listen. I re-listened to the Chronicles of Prydain one because I was like, I think there were maybe some things that I missed in that like 2 millennia long analysis that I did.
Yeah.
So I don't want to retread old ground.
I was similar where I didn't want to repeat things that we've already talked about. Also, we had some really long episodes.
Although I do want to say, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I do think our Prydain episode is my personal favorite episode.
It's a really good episode.
I think it's very good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that. I think I spend way too much time talking about a bunch of ancillary details.
But it's the ancillary details that are so cool to hear about. Because it's like things that people might not have picked up on if they read it a long time ago, or even like details that I didn't pick up on my first read. So it was very cool.
Hmm.
Also, very common running theme in season 2 is we just started saying the words Chad and Grindset like a ridiculous amount of time. Like almost every episode has a mention of like so-and-so, the Chad. I don't know why we decided to do that.
Because it's art.
Okay, well, our first episode that we covered in season 2 was Warriors, books 4 through 6.
We did do that.
I do
That was so
remember
long
these.
ago.
Hey, if anybody really likes the Prename ones, my favorite ones to listen to are the Warrior Cats ones, frankly, just because we're all so unhinged in those episodes.
We love those
Because
cats.
the books get a little unhinged.
Yeah.
So they're great episodes. We've obviously done multiple Warrior Cats episodes, and we've done a recap of season 1 Warriors episodes. So I don't know if there's that much more we can expand on, but I did have an interesting question that I thought would be fun to think about or answer. What clan do you think you would be in if you were a Warrior Cat?
Huh. I don't think we ever.
Yeah, I don't think we ever covered it.
Wow.
Yeah, which is surprising. But then again, there was a lot of Warrior Cats to cover, so maybe not so surprising.
It's tough because like our perspectives are so firmly rooted in ThunderClan.
That's true. I think maybe Jino and I will have a better time answering because we've read more of the series that go into the other clans. I think you'd be Shadow Clan. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I don't know. I would have to take your word for it.
I think the best way for me personally to decide which clan I'm a part of is to go by process of elimination. It's not Sky Clan, because I'm not a big fan of heights. It's not Wind Clan, because I don't have a lot of stamina.
Or speed.
Hey,
I'm kidding.
no, you're right, though. It's not ThunderClan, because I think we rely too much on cars in America, and I'd really like to see those trains come back. There's currently a petition about reviving the old Amtrak lines. Just to plug that, I guess. Go sign that.
I would love more public transportation in
That'd be
California.
nice, I think.
So it's not ThunderClan, because they like...
I mean, do they
They
idolize
like
the cars?
They're just near them, you know?
Yeah.
I don't...
Listen, process of elimination. I gotta
that's fair.
cut things off the list. It's not Water Clan. It's not River Clan, because as much as I love fish, I'm not a huge swimming person either. I can swim. I like to swim, but like you can't make me swim. You know what I mean?
It's like if you were given an option, you wouldn't choose swimming.
Yeah, which leaves Shadow Clan, the clan that likes to hide, and I do love hiding. I love being under a branch, perhaps, or some thistle, and just get in there.
That's fair.
That's a pretty good way to like figure
Politics
it out.
and like emotional vibes aside, Shadow Clan's where it's at because they're just in there, you know.
I do kind of feel like Shadow Clan is almost like a catch-all for the outcasts of other clans, which makes them kind of more of an amalgamation of various strengths. Because it's like Tiger Claw left Thunder Clan and went to Shadow Clan. They sometimes take in rogue cats for nefarious purposes, of course, but still like they have this like general like mix of different cats with different strengths, and so in a way they're almost the most well-rounded clan.
Yeah, because the other 4 clans are adapted to a specific biome.
Yeah.
Where Shadow Clan is just, and their part of the forest is spooky. Sure, I guess.
Yeah.
Not really a biome.
Because it's like the Wind Clan cats, you have to be fast in order to catch prey on like the grasslands that are more open, where you don't have as much places to hide, and you just gotta be fast and like get the rabbit. And then obviously River Clan, they have to be able to fish. And Thunder Clan is just like cool.
They're like standard forest cats.
Yeah.
And then Sky Clan can fly.
Yeah, I can go ahead and say that I would not be a Sky Clan cat because they live in the trees, and I've always wanted to learn how to climb trees, but I've always been terrified to do so. So probably not gonna be a Sky Clan cat. I mean, maybe it'd be different if I was actually a cat, but you know, I think I would be a cowardly cat.
If I was actually a cat, I would be a kitty pet 1,000%.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the secret true
That's the real
answer.
answer.
Yeah.
Is we would not be warrior cats if we were cats. We would be in our nice little 2-leg homes with food and shelter.
I would happily put up with a litter box if I get synthetic fibers. Thank you very much.
I would either be a kitty pet or I would love to live in the barn with Barley and Ravenpaw.
That's the secret answer.
Yeah.
That's the secret ending.
They get the best of both worlds, where they have like freedom to roam around if they want, but they also have a really nice, cozy home to return to and just ample prey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you only have to go visit the Clipper once. So I don't know what I would be. I feel like I'd do a fair amount of like aerobic activities, so maybe Wind Clan is fine.
Yeah.
Sure. Thunder Clan, maybe just on the principle of, trees, just standard cat behavior. That's nice.
Yeah.
Although, if I may, you have been warning us a lot lately about the dangers of sunlight
That's
in ratio to
true.
skin cancer.
Mhm.
And you know who doesn't get a lot of sun is Shadow Clan.
Oh.
Come join us, Michael.
Ooh.
Jino's trying to recruit for Shadow Clan now.
Okay, maybe Shadow Clan or Kitty Pet Life. Because if I was a kitty pet, I can just go inside.
Yeah. Although if you were a cat, also, you'd be covered in fur, and the sun wouldn't be nearly as much of a problem.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true. This is a lot harder than I thought. You know what? I'll just do kitty pet vibes.
No, pick a
Wise.
clan.
Okay. You know what? Screw it. Blood Clan.
Ooh.
Blood Clan, survival of the toughest with the most jewelry.
That's, yeah.
I accept that answer.
Burn bright, burn short.
Burn bright, burn short, jump in a dumpster. Gather around the
basically-
bone pile.
Yeah, I mean, Blood Clan, before they took over the forest, they were basically just like alley cats. They just lived on the streets. So.
Oh, yeah. I'll do that. It'll be like sharks and jets, and I'll be snapping my way down the alley.
Your snaps will be super sharp because they're snapping together like dog's teeth or whatever.
Ooh, yeah.
Clink, clink. You'd be a jellicle cat.
Ooh.
Mm.
Jellicle cats, which one of us will die? I like to die. There she goes, she's dead. Jellicle cats, that's the show. Which one gets to die?
That one.
It's the sad one.
What is this?
Cats, the
Cats,
musical.
the musical.
Oh, okay. I've actively avoided any
That's the whole
knowledge
plot.
of cats.
Which one gets to die? It's her. That's
Oh,
the
right,
plot.
right. Yeah, okay. I remember
Do you think that there are YouTube animated, like animatics, like, storyboard kind of style
yeah.
animation,
Mhm.
but it's like songs from the musical Cats, but with warrior cat characters in their place?
Oh, I bet.
There must be.
If there's not, get on it, kids.
We've given you a brilliant idea for your next creative adventures.
Guaranteed to do numbers. Don't know which ones.
Could be any number. Could be millions. Could be 4.
I think it would definitely get more than 4.
You know, who knows?
Yeah.
Did you ever say which one you were, Victoria?
No. I think I would be a River Clan or Thunder Clan cat.
But you
Reasons
don't like the
being-
beach.
I don't like the beach, but I do like fish and seafood in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a pretty strong swimmer, or at least I was when I was a kid. No, when I was a kid, I would take those swimming classes, and sometimes they would have like the class do like relay races, and nobody wanted to race me because I was too fast. And I was like,
Dang.
and then one time my swimming instructor in my final evaluation for like graduating the class or whatever, because at my swimming course there were like levels and you would pass each level to get to the next one. So one of my instructors for, I don't know, silver level 2 or whatever, wrote, "See you at the next Olympics." And I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
But I did not want that life for myself.
Wow.
In an alternate universe, I think maybe if I had been gung-ho about swimming, maybe.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I had the opposite experience in my swimming camp. I would get in the pool and go, "Oh, not again." And they'd say, "Swim as fast as you can." "No, as fast as you can, Jino." I'd be like, "I'm trying."
I liked swimming, but I didn't like being forced to swim, if that makes sense. So
Sure.
Mhm.
sometimes my brother and I would go to the pool and we'd want to just play in the water. But my mom would say, "No, you have to practice your laps before you can play in the pool." And I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Takes all the fun out of it.
So I think if I was like a River Clan cat and I just naturally like wanted to swim and catch fish, I think I would enjoy that. I can't be a Wind Clan cat because I can't run fast. I just don't like running. I don't think I could be a Shadow Clan cat because I think the dark part of the forest would gross me out.
You don't want to get in those leaves?
All the creepy crawlies. I don't know. I don't think I could do it.
Eat some bugs.
No, thank you.
Mmm.
Thunder Clan is kind of like, there's like some pros and cons to being in Thunder Clan. I like sleeping in the sun.
Yeah.
I like lounging in the forest. I like grass, so Thunder Clan would be second option.
Nice.
I guess one thing before we move on is the savvy listener may notice that this was the last episode where we called Casey Wayland to describe the plot.
It's
Oh, yeah,
true.
we stopped calling Casey because we didn't want to bother.
He seemed really tired
Yeah.
that day, and we went, oh.
Well, Casey the other day, he was like, you guys stopped calling me for Nostalgia Club.
Oh.
And we were like, yeah, because we thought it really bothered you. And he's like, you just got to tell me when you're going to call me. And I was like, but it's not, that ruins the point. The point is that you don't know when we're going to call you and we surprise you and get your genuine reaction. It can't just be like, hi, Victoria, thanks for calling. What am I going to learn about today? So
It is an interesting arc from like our first episode, which was another Warrior Cats one, where he did know it was coming, and he queued up a sound effect of like jungle noises, and he was like, hello, I'm in the jungle. And then the last episode where we called him, which I think was in the middle of some production or other, and he was just like, hi.
Really went through it.
Yeah.
We're all going through it.
yeah. No, thank you, Casey, for tolerating us calling you for 16 whole episodes.
What a great sport.
But we will not call you any longer.
The end of an era.
The end of an era. I mean, it ended a long time ago because we stopped calling him a long time ago.
Yeah.
It really came down to, I think when we did our Gravity Falls episode, Casey was like in the middle of production. And so we were like, we shouldn't call him right now. We should wait till like after production. And then there was no time.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think actually this will be the last time we cover Warrior Cats. I don't think we're going to jump into series 2 unless we really want to. But I think there's lots of other things to cover.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose everything is open-ended, technically.
That's true. I won't say it will be the last, but I'm saying probably for a while.
Probably for, there's a lot of things to cover.
Yeah.
But if you have strong feelings about Warrior Cats, listener, please write in and tell us. Cover more Warrior Cats.
Yeah. If someone out there is like, I really love your Warrior Cats episodes, then I'll be like, we got to do it. Let's start reading series 2 right now. All right. The next episode was Gravity Falls.
Wow.
Wow.
The soundtrack's out on Spotify.
Yeah.
It's pretty banging.
Stop listening to Nostalgia Club. Go listen to the Gravity Falls
check
soundtrack.
out
No,
the
no, no,
Gravity-
come back, come back, come back.
No.
Wait, what? Oh, thank you for bringing us back.
I'll just say this. The animation industry is in a dire state.
Oh, yes.
And if you want to support hardworking animators and American animation as a whole, find David Zaslav and kick him in the nuts.
Whoa.
For legal reasons, that was a joke.
For legal reasons, Jino is not inciting violence. Just making a funny parodic jab at the practices of perhaps a certain company or, you know, individual who's doing some things that some would consider in bad faith towards the arts. Stop writing off art for tax benefits.
So true. I don't think we talked about this during the episode, but one of my favorite, just, I guess, Alex Hirsch memories is when he posted on the internet all of his email interactions with Disney while making Gravity Falls
Oh.
and his responses to like their silly notes. It was a really interesting look at the production process, and I guess I admire him for just sticking to it and being like, no, I'm not going to make the show worse just because your legal team has opinions about what is and isn't allowed.
He was so happy to burn that bridge.
Yeah. I do think that sometimes executives, they'll just get in the way because they're like, no, I really think this is right. And then creators are like, I think it's fine. I don't think anyone's going to be mad about it.
It's interesting. It's like you get this feeling sometimes that it's like, it's either just a bad faith note, or even if it's like a good faith note, it's like a note that's specifically not in consultation with, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
When your entire job is to give notes, corrections, or suggestions,
Yeah.
I feel like it gets to a point where you kind of just automatically give them out, even if the project doesn't necessarily need them.
Yeah.
It just becomes like, I have to give notes. I will give notes.
Mm-hmm.
Here they are. And
Yeah.
because I'm your boss, you have to do them, regardless of how effective they actually are.
Yeah. You wonder if it's like compulsory.
Yeah. Or just like, maybe deep down, we're getting psychological here. But if you feel like you need to justify your existence as CEO of whatever company, you need to
Justify your
justify
paycheck.
your creative level of power in this company, then you got to give notes and you got to be confident in those notes.
I think also like when it's your job to hyper focus on a piece of media and pick out all of the little details that might potentially offend someone or might potentially put you in legal trouble. Like, I think it puts you in a weird mindset of like consuming that media.
Yeah.
It's like, as consumers, I'm not sitting there watching Gravity Falls being like, that line, is that gonna offend someone? Oh, I don't know. Like, these checks are important, but at the same time, like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I've seen what you mentioned, Victoria, like that list of like emails.
Yeah.
And it seemed like, from what I could vaguely remember, because I can't recall specifics, it was like the things that they pick out are almost like, if it's not coming from one individual, then it's coming from like a room of 5 people that haven't been involved in the creative process, talking in circles for about 3 hours and sort of navel gazing until they came out with a note that you could only get from like circling the room in a similar conversation and navel gazing for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, it feels almost out of nowhere.
I mean, I wouldn't want that to be my job.
Nah.
I would be exhausted.
On one hand, you could say perhaps they're doing what their job is to a certain extent of like, hey, we're worried about X thing that's very esoteric and will likely never be an issue to anyone, but we have to bring it up. But on the other hand, when you like insist upon it, I don't know what I'm saying, but it's like...
If I could attempt to summarize.
Yeah.
You have a team of people who, through their collective efforts, going around and around, pull a phrase or a word so far out of context that now it seems like it could be a problem.
Yeah.
And then when they present it, they need to assert their authority, and so they double down on it, even if, when placed back into context, it reveals itself to be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And thus, even though through that system you can save your company headaches, embarrassment, and lawsuit money, you also create lots of problems for the people under you, because at the end of the day, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
And it's not your problem.
That's a way better summation than I could ever hope to enunciate with my ramblings.
But I'm glad that Alex Hirsch has gone on to continue making fun things. His voice in so many projects. How does he do it?
His what?
His, like...
How does he do his voice?
His hootie voice.
Well, I've heard in interviews that it's very painful. For him, specifically.
So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
He's living the best life. He's just like hanging out, collecting royalty checks, and, quote, consulting on projects.
That's what I want to do.
Sitting in an office and going, yeah.
I want to be a consultant for projects. Please hire me.
What's next? What's the next thing?
Nostalgia Club, what's next?
The next thing was Narnia.
Oh, yeah.
We read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
They are remaking Narnia. The Narnia movies right now.
They are remaking them.
Who knows?
Greta Gerwig is remaking them.
Who knows how that go?
I don't know. I
don't see a need.
Yeah, I think the original movies were so good. Like, I love those movies so much. But Greta Gerwig always does some interesting things. So I feel like if they were going to remake them, at least she's the one making them.
Yeah.
Because I trust that she'll, like, do a different spin on it that no one's done before. Because that was a similar thing. Like, she did Little Women. And although it's not my personal favorite Little Women adaptation, I still appreciate that she did things differently that no other adaptation had done before.
Yeah, I will say, as someone going to that movie with no Little Women experience at all, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Same.
So I guess we'll see. But I don't know. I still really love the original Narnia movies.
I know what you mean. Sort of when you have that attachment to a thing where you're like, well, I wouldn't say no to more of this.
Yeah.
But I already have my thing that I like, and it's on my shelf.
I was talking with my friend the other day just about adaptations of franchises in general, because there are so many of them coming out right now. And her perspective was just kind of like, if it's a good adaptation, then we have a new good adaptation. But if it's a bad adaptation, we haven't lost anything necessarily. We can still go and like watch or read the original thing. It's not tarnished by the bad adaptation. There's only things to gain. So I was like, that's a good perspective to have, rather than being like, oh, like, why are they making another adaptation? It's going to be so bad and they're going to ruin it. Like, no, like, if it's bad, I'm just going to go and watch the original thing.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think the emotion is almost like it's this projected FOMO, fear of missing out, but it's like projected onto other people that haven't been exposed to the original or whatever version that you liked the most. We haven't talked about Percy Jackson yet. I know that's at the end. But I remember like a neighbor watching the Percy Jackson movie from like way back, like the one Christopher Columbus directed. the one that no one likes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And watching it and saying to my neighbor, like, this isn't, like, the book's different. The book's actually a lot better. Like, don't worry about this. Forget this movie. Here, borrow my book. And it's like, no, I've already seen the thing. And I'm like, no, this isn't the thing. You have to read the book.
It's better.
And it's better. It's like, I've already seen the movie. I'm like, no! I think that's almost the emotion,
that's
which
fair.
I understand. I think it's definitely the healthier perspective to have the one that your friend said where it's like, nah, it's just more of whatever. And I can just go back me personally and enjoy the thing. But there's this weird projected like, but other people have to be exposed to the good one.
I mean, I'm still going to rage if the adaptation's bad. So
Yeah.
Sorry,
As it
I
goes.
didn't realize that the director of the Percy Jackson movie is named Christopher Columbus. So that genuinely threw me for a second. I was
Oh.
like, that's his name?
He's default young adventure movie guy.
Oh.
He did Home Alone, right?
I don't know. I'll be honest.
look it up really
I don't know
Yes,
why
he did
I
Home Alone.
remember.
Yeah.
He did the Home Alone movies.
Harry Potter 1, 2. I got
Yes.
tired.
He did the Pixels movie that came out in 2015.
Really?
Oh,
Huh.
why did he do that?
Oh, there's a new Nosferatu movie that he's directing that's coming out this year.
Busy
A
guy.
lot of vampire movies
A
coming
lot
out.
of vampire movies.
I don't want to turn
Vampires
this
are
into
coming back. I saw something about them remaking Twilight.
Sure.
I think enough time has lapsed between the initial Twilight, what's the word?
Fervor?
Fervor, but also like the anti-Twilight rage. Like enough distance has been created where people can now go back to the original movies and appreciate them for what they are, and also not only through like a satirical lens, but also through like a genuine lens of like there are parts of these movies that are actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And also there are parts that are freaking abhorrent, like the CGI baby that the full-grown man falls in love with. It's fine. If you want more Twilight, you should go listen to Adapt or Die. They have a whole series about Twilight.
Ooh.
But if they do remake Twilight, hopefully they get a team of creative people who were fans, perhaps, of
Yeah.
Twilight in that time and can now remake it in a way that is not only true to the very unique nature of the original Twilight movies, but also does a good job.
We would hope. I think like the best remakes / adaptations are ones where the creators are fans of the show.
Yes.
So,
But not
or
just
the original.
But attempting to remix and improve the original
Yeah.
in a way, like, we can debate all we want about whether or not the Twilight books were good or not, but I don't think there's any debate about the fact that there are certain plot points in the Twilight books that are just whack.
Yeah.
And I think a loving adaptation of that series done with that perspective of we can improve this while also loving it, I think that'll be really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just looked it up. Apparently, it's going to be an animated series. So it's a remake, but it's going to be animated, which is interesting because lately the trend has been it was animated and now it's being live action.
I like that.
There have been a lot more, I've noticed, like animated shows that are basically like they could be just like live action dramas.
Mhm.
But they just do well in animation because they seem to be written for that. I was watching a little Blue-Eyed Samurai, and that's
I
like
love Blue Eye Samurai.
like I literally it was like late one night. It was like 3 a.m. and I'm just like out there just watching shows because it was in the middle of the movie we were doing, so my circadian rhythm was messed up. And out of nowhere my dad walks out.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what are you? And he's like, what's going on? What are you watching? And I'm like, man, I don't know. I was going to go to sleep, but I was like, it. I'm going to put on Blue-Eyed Samurai, which I've been meaning to watch. And we went through that like whole episode.
Oh, you watched it with your dad?
Yeah.
Oh, I would not watch it with my dad. Sorry, Dad.
But I was like, this is like a TV drama. Like it's
Yeah.
animated, but you know, the people are not writing things for animation that they are assuming, okay, it has to fit in this particular box anymore.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very well done show.
We were talking about Narnia.
Yeah, I was like, oh, because we were talking about how it's getting adapted. That's funny.
I hope they make Aslan buff and walk on two legs
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a true adaptation unless Aslan walks on two legs.
with his like human hands. Yeah. No, I see this now. I see the potential.
We have to write Greta Gerwig right now and be like, hi, so we just want to make sure that you're going to adapt it.
In the
this
final
way."
battle, Aslan boxes the queen, right?
Aslan's wearing a shirt and no pants, right? He's like Donald Duck in it.
I was going to say Winnie the Poohing it, but Donald Duck is funnier.
I was about to say Winnie the Pooh, and then for whatever reason, some part of my brain hijacked me and went, no.
No, because Winnie the Pooh is like a wholesome character. When you go like, oh, Winnie the Pooh, you're like, oh. But Donald Duck, that man was in the military. You don't know what to expect from Donald Duck.
Aslan is a warrior.
Yep.
A warrior cat.
A warrior full of rage. Oh.
He is
What
a
clan is
warrior cat.
Aslan in? It's Thunder Clan,
Thunder
right?
Clan,
it has
obviously.
to be Thunder Clan.
Yeah.
Thunder Clan or
Unless it's Sky Clan because
Star
of...
Clan?
Oh.
A composite star Thunder Clan or something?
After Narnia, we talked about Magic School Bus.
Yeah.
In that episode, we watched 3 Magic School Bus episodes. Well, Jino watched 4. And then we talked about some Miss Frizzle theories. We talked about fun field trip stories. Do you guys have any more field trip stories to share?
You know,
Dig in the archives.
between that episode and now, I went on another 6th grade field trip.
Wow, tell us about that, Michael.
Well, I was immediately arrested. I was like, hey, could we stop here? I need a bathroom break. And the teacher said, what are you doing on this bus?
That's the real reason why it took us 3 months to record this recap episode. We had to wait for Michael to get out of jail.
We had to collect enough money for pay for bail.
No, I have no other field trip stories.
I got one more. One more in the tank.
Okay.
It's real short. It's extremely short. One time we went on a Texas fossil hunt because there's
Ooh.
fossils just all over Texas because it used to be an ancient seabed. So there's a lot of ammonite, spiral shell things.
Ammonites?
Ammonites.
Yeah.
Ammonites and little like tube worms. A lot of fossils. Interesting thing about the United States is that archaeological sites, paleontological sites, if it's on your private property, go nuts, my guy. You can let a bunch of 6th graders just dig up all these ancient creatures in your backyard. Why not? So we just did that a bunch.
Wow. That's really cool.
I did find an entire intact, very large ammonite.
Whoa.
I was so hyped. There was a team of like 5 of us trying to dig it out, and I got impatient, and I wedged a screwdriver in there, and I shattered it. And I've never cried harder in my life.
Oh, no!
Took it home, a big Ziploc bag. Sat on my shelf for a while in that bag. Probably threw it away. You know?
I thought you were going to be like, I tried to like super glue it back together. Like,
No, it was
shard
beyond
after
that.
shard.
It was like a bag of rocks or whatever at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
On one hand, yeah, they're fossils. They've got to be important and valuable. But on the other hand, it is just a big bag of rocks. And you are a child. And what you going to do with them? Eat them?
Yeah.
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 I'm full of rocks.
Gain their power.
Become a Dino Thunder Power Ranger.
Is that the next one?
No.
No!
That would have been the perfect segue.
I'm just imagining a Power Ranger with like, my power of the ammonite. And it's like they just turn into like a little shell.
I thought you were going to say he has to eat the rock. I can't go morphin again, guys. Sorry, I have to wait 24 to 48 hours.
I gotta pass this rock.
I can only transform when I eat the rock, which limits the number of times I can transform in a week.
I don't like that.
Listen, neither does the Power Ranger. It's a pretty big rock.
But that's a good field trip story.
Yeah.
You know?
Thanks. What's next? What's the next thing? Unless you have a field trip story. Tell the Denver Mint one again.
Well, the reason was I feel like during that episode I told such boring field trip stories.
We went to the Denver Mint.
No, we didn't.
We didn't go to the Denver Mint.
Didn't you like pass the Denver Mint or something and you were like, oh, I should go there.
Jellicle cats going to the Denver Mint.
Okay, we're back after a brief intermission of laughing. After Magic School Bus, we had Matilda. This was kind of our unplanned school story run where we had 3 episodes in a row that were all about kids in school.
Wow.
Wow. I still have not watched the Danny DeVito Matilda. I'm sorry. I meant to after we recorded that episode, and then I didn't. So I can't talk about it on this episode.
I mean, I still haven't watched the musical.
No updates for Matilda.
You know what we can do, though? If we fuse Matilda and the BFG. Have
yeah.
either of you seen Wonka?
Oh, no.
Okay, I've heard it's better than people expected going in.
That's what my mom said. I have not seen Wonka.
I did not see the new Wonka, but I did go to IHOP with my friends, and they had a special Wonka collaboration.
I think you might have mentioned
Yeah,
this.
where all the food was Wonka themed. And they had like some crazy stuff. They had like purple pancakes and a cotton candy milkshake thing that looked really, really sweet. Just sugar.
Did it
pure
taste
sugar.
like Wonka?
I didn't try it. I got the blueberry biscuit something, which was pretty good. It was like just the right amount of sweetness that was like not overwhelming. Because normally when I go and get breakfast food, I don't like sweet. I prefer savory breakfast over sweet breakfast. But like I was like, I gotta try this Wonka thing. So, sorry, now I'm all congested because we laughed too hard.
No, I'm same.
Yeah, did not see Wonka. Did hear a lot of stories about the Wonka popcorn bucket, though. The one with looks
What
like a
was
big
the
worm.
Wonka? No, that was the Dune.
But that's Wonka, right?
I was in the middle of saying that's the
Classic
Dune
Willy
popcorn
Wonka.
bucket, and I was like, oh, he's doing a bit.
I'm doing a bit. This is all I'm good for.
I would love a version of Willy Wonka, but it's just Leto II from God Emperor of Dune, and it's just a giant worm, man.
Oh, gosh.
Welcome, children. I have been alive for millennia.
Is
Want
the
some
Wonka-
chocolate?
Is the Wonka movie supposed to be like Willy Wonka's origin story, like before he created the chocolate factory?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't know if
It's like
it's
one
the
of those, like,
Gene
prequel.
Wilder or the Johnny Depp or like a combination.
It's
Or
probably
if it's
its
just like
own.
just Timmy C's got his own Wonka now.
It's probably that is my guess.
Yeah.
Well, after Matilda, we talked about Frindle. The Frindle episode is one of my favorite episodes as well. It was a book that was short, so I thought that we wouldn't have that much to talk about. But we actually all just loved Frindle so much, and it like inspired some really great conversations. We talked about if there were any students from our school experience who did kind of experiments like Nicholas did. However, I thought it'd be interesting. Did any of your teachers ever kind of like do experiments? This sounds really bad, but what I mean is like how the teacher in Frindle acts as a quote unquote villain in order to propel Nicholas's journey forward. So it almost was like a social experiment on her part to be like, I wonder how far this will go if I push the right buttons to like get the kids interested in taking this further. So I was curious if you guys had any teachers like that.
Teachers who did social experiments on the kids. I mean, that was my whole school.
Yeah, that's true.
That was all of it.
Well, my English teacher in middle school, I think this was 8th grade. I love this English teacher. She's like one of the main reasons why I decided to like pursue a career in the arts. However, there was one thing she did that I was like, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Basically, in 8th grade, we read The Lottery, which is a short story where everyone in a small town gathers like once a year to draw slips of paper out of a box. And then the family that draws a paper with a dot on it has to draw again. And then I think it's like the family member that draws the dot again. Sorry, this is about to get a bit graphic. They get stoned to death by the rest of the village. It's basically only done because their village has been doing this lottery tradition since the village was founded, and they're not willing to let it go. So there's themes about mob psychology and blindly following tradition.
I think it's supposed to be like a vaguely non-denominational, like rite of spring style sacrifice sort of thing.
It was interesting, and it was like, I think because that year the whole focus of like the curriculum was reading like dystopian fiction. Like we read like Animal Farm in 1984. Did we read 1984 in 8th grade? I don't know.
I wasn't in your class, so I wouldn't be able to.
We read like The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas and stuff like that. After that, she basically sat us down and she was like, listen, you guys have not been the greatest class this year. And I went to a charter school for middle school, and there's this thing called infractions where if you acted out in class or like if you cheated on a test or stuff, you could get sent to the principal's office and they would write you up. Like you would get an infraction. And I think it was like if you got like 2 infractions, you could get expelled from school.
It's harsh.
And also infractions, regardless of how many you got, would be on like your permanent record. And she was like, you guys haven't been the greatest class. And so I think what we should do is we're going to pick one person in the class who's going to get an infraction. She had us basically like draw slips of paper from a bowl. And then the person who ended up getting the marked piece of paper was, I think he was like our class president at the time.
Huh.
He was like this really nice guy and everyone liked him. He'd never like done anything wrong. And so we were like, oh my God, like he's like the class president. This is like a huge deal. And then she basically like made us like sit there and like debate, like, is it right for him to like get an infraction? And she's like, well, if he doesn't get an infraction, then you all are going to get infractions. And we were like, well, we don't all want infractions. It was meant to be like an experiment where she wanted to see if we would like oppose her, if we would like stand up to her and be like, no, like none of us are getting infractions. This is ridiculous. I guess she had some years where the kids like fully like blocked the doors and were like, you're not going to take this kid to the principal's office, and like stood up to her in that way, like physically.
Wow.
But she's also like one of the nicest teachers. So I think we were all just like, what is happening?
Everyone's in shock.
We were all just in shock.
So you all just went with it?
Yeah, I think we were like, does she like really mean it? Like, is this really happening? It was also, that was the first year that she actually told the kid that they were going to get picked.
Oh.
But I think in previous years, she didn't. Like, you just, like, found out that you were going to get an infraction.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I know. I remember just, like, crying for the entire class because I was like, I don't know what to do. But, you know, it taught me an interesting lesson about standing up to authority, even if you think that they're a really nice person. Slight disclaimer here. It has been a while since I was in 8th grade, so I don't 100% remember how this experiment went down. I do also think potentially she was mainly focusing on not following the crowd, but I think the thing that popped out to me personally the most was still just, sometimes you should question authority. Anyways, that's it. Looking back, I'm still like, I think we're all a little traumatized from that experience.
Probably.
Yeah, because it's like one of those moments where like you look back and you're like, I feel bad that I didn't stand up. I probably should have said something, but I was also like, a 13-year-old who was very shy and scared and didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So, and like you've been taught your entire life that you shouldn't stand up to your teachers because they like know what's best. I don't think it was like directly after we read the lottery that she was like, and now we will be doing it ourselves. I think she waited like a week or two before she did it. So it kind of like caught us by surprise and we weren't necessarily expecting it. But yeah, that's my story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Experiment on the children.
Yeah.
That's tough. In Frindle, it's the kid, it's Nicholas who initiates the thing. And Miss Granger is just like reacting to things that he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the agency is always on Nicholas to like stop at any point. But when a teacher, and of course you can't like, if you're trying to like get your students to think outside the box, you can't like just rely on one or more enterprising students to defy authority in a way that is like productive and, you know, puts interesting thoughts in people's mind about sociology. It's like, no, you can't just rely on that happening.
Yeah, I think it also, because it depends on like the group of kids that you have. Like if there's like standout leaders in the class, I think maybe it was like, because she picked the class president, that might have like shifted the dynamic a little bit where like normally the person who would take the lead in these conversations is now like the victim. And so like that shifts the balance.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, it's interesting. Again, like I still like, I really love this teacher. I have very fond memories of her English classes. And she's always been very excited for me to like pursue a career in writing and stuff. But just that one day was a little weird.
Like you said, you probably have to like pick your class, right? And I'm certainly glad that she told the class president.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That
like
seems...
if that happened to me and I didn't know, I would have like lost it.
Oh yeah. It's scary stuff.
At the same time though, it's a lesson that I very much remember. Yeah. So I'm not saying she was right or wrong in doing so. This is just a story that I wanted to tell during the Frindle episode, but that we didn't have time to get to, so I wanted to tell it now.
It's a good story.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
Highly relevant.
I think it's fascinating to be a teacher in a position of power and try to teach the class a lesson, which is essentially oppose me. Take me down.
Yeah. I think she was like, there's more nuance to following authority than just blindly being like, well, they said I should do this, so.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very important lesson for kids to learn.
Indeed.
You got any stories like that, Michael?
Me personally, I don't think any class I was a part of was made guinea pigs for sociology lessons in quite the same way. I mean, I'm sure there were various little okay, we're doing an exercise today.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody group yourself into this. Okay. I do have a friend who told me when he was in high school, he had a history teacher put his class through something that was, at least in spirit, similar to the eye color experiment, if you've ever heard of that phenomenon. It was something a teacher did a while ago, and I don't think you could get away with it now. But it was a lesson kind of in prejudice and bigotry and racism, where she told this young class that there was a study and that people with a certain eye color were inherently smarter than a different group of people of different eye colors. And then the kids started treating each other differently based off of that. And then the next day she switched it around and said, oh, the results were wrong. It's actually the opposite. And then the kids, treated each other differently in accordance with that. And then the next day she told them, hey, that was all made up, but look at how you treated each other. And so I have a friend whose history teacher did a similar but more complicated thing in high school that had to do with I think it was more related to similarly with following authority. And it was just how easily you can fall in with certain hierarchies of dividing people into groups, or mobilizing for things that you're not thinking clearly about.
Yeah.
So that's really tough. Putting your kids through their paces in a sociology experiment.
Yeah. The next one was Redwall.
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 Incredible episode.
Yes.
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 Incredible book.
Incredible book.
Making waves. Still making waves.
I think that was one of our longest episodes of last season, was the Redwall episode.
A pretty riotous episode.
Yeah, it was fun. I re-listened to the whole thing all the way through the other day. I think it's just fun to listen to. There's just that moment where Jino imitates Matthias that kills me every time.
I'm glad I could do that for you.
A lot of great analysis from Jino, especially in that episode as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
I
great
love
stuff.
Redwall. Still an influence. One of the latest Magic the Gathering sets is a Redwall inspired.
Really?
Oh, wow.
They took all their Magic the Gathering characters, none of whom I'm particularly knowledgeable about or attached to, but they turned them all into mice or otters or rabbits or whatever.
That's so
And all
exciting.
the guys are now little animals, and they have animal themed attacks or whatever.
That's
The
fun.
whole
That's
thing.
fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Mouse with sword.
Mouse with sword. Best genre, mouse with sword.
I was thinking for season 3, there's some other mouse with swords that we should read about, like The Tale of Despero.
Oh.
Have you read that?
I have. Isn't it
Okay.
kind of sad?
I don't remember very much about it. There's
My
a mouse. with a
sister
sword.
read that, but I did not.
Ooh, so strong candidate for
Yeah.
season 3. There's also, I was recently reminded of Beverly Cleary's Mouse with a Motorcycle.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever read that one.
I don't remember anything about it, but I love that it's a little mouse with a little motorcycle. That's just the concept of tiny motorcycle and tiny mouse with tiny motorcycle helmet is
Yeah.
so good.
There's also Stuart Little, who's not a
Oh,
mouse.
yeah.
Oh, yeah?
That's a human who looks like that.
I feel like
Yeah.
we need to talk about Stuart Little at some point.
That's
it
a
has
guy.
to happen.
That's a guy.
But Redwall, it might be fun to revisit future books in future seasons.
Yeah.
Learn about Madameus.
Madameo.
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 Mouse.
It's my-
Mouse.
Hi, everyone. Our recap episode got super long, so we're going to cut it here and come back next week for the remaining 8 episodes. So stay tuned for that, and until next time, let us know what you want us to cover in Season 3. Bye! Thank you for listening to Nostalgia Club. If you enjoyed this episode, follow us on Twitter at _Nostalgia Club and on Instagram at Nostalgia Club Podcast. Leave a comment, give us a rating, and subscribe. You could also send us an email with your suggestions for what we should review next at nostalgiaclubpodcast@gmail.com.